In life we sometimes go through situations which we do not expect, right? And
Mhm.
one such situation in my life was when I got married and I went through domestic violence. And the final moment was when my ex,
Mhm.
he kept a knife to my throat. And
Oh my God.
I'm alive. Yes, I'm alive because of God's grace, honestly, because at that
Sure.
moment I could not have done anything. I was invited by the United Nations Bangkok to give a keynote.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, when I got a mail, um, I thought it's a scam. So I waited 24 hours to revert to them,
Right.
but then it was not a scam.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the Aspire and Acquire podcast. I'm your host, Sandeep Suri. Join me for listening to some incredible stories about some of the best professionals from very diverse fields like combat flying, robotic surgery, dancing, tea farming, journalism, deep sea diving, and so on. These accomplished professionals are not just outstanding in their jobs, but also have unique stories to share with us. We have tried to make the show truly global by having these guests from different parts of the world. In today's episode, we tackle a theme that's more relevant than ever: navigating the noise of our hyper digital lives while safeguarding our mental and physical well being. Our guest, Ruchi Singh, is a rare blend of corporate strategist and inner wellness guide. With over a decade in leadership, 15 plus years of meditation and pranayama, and credentials in NLP and stakeholder coaching, she brings a powerful perspective on aligning success with self awareness. From surviving a nearly death experience to speaking at the UN, Ruchi's story is nothing short of inspiring. Today, she shares how neuroscience, energy, and conscious leadership can help us not just survive, but truly thrive. Let's dive into this insightful conversation with Ruchi Singh. Hi, Ruchi. How are you doing today?
Hi, Sandeep. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I'm fine. Thank you for
Ab-
asking.
oh, absolutely. We would love to have you on the show, and we've been thinking about this for some time, but because of a busy schedule, we were not able to kind of line this up earlier. But anyways,
Yeah.
finally we have you here, so we'll get started. Okay.
Yes.
So let's start with your journey from defying death to gracing the United Nations stage, which is truly, truly remarkable. Could you share the pivotal moments that shaped your resilience and strategic brilliance?
All right. Okay, that's an interesting question, and that's a question I get asked a lot.
I'm
So,
sure.
when I say defying death, in life we sometimes go through situations which we do not expect, right? And
Mhm.
one such situation in my life was when I got married and I went through domestic violence. And the final moment was when my ex,
Mhm.
he kept a knife to my throat. And
Oh my God.
I'm alive. Yes, I'm alive because of God's grace, honestly, because at that
Sure.
moment I could not have done anything, genuinely. So since I survived, I had this question, which kept coming up in my mind, that I'm very lucky to be alive, but what if I had died? And
Yeah.
if I had died, what would have been the value of my life? And this is the exact thing I asked myself. It's like, what if I had died? What would have been the value of my life? Because till then, I was like a normal, I would like to believe, a good human being. But
Right.
there wasn't anything which would make me feel good when I was dying. Because let's face it, I may have survived now, but we are all going to die one fine day.
Sure.
And another thing was that deep seated anger I had, mostly towards myself, because it was like, I have not taken birth just to be a statistic of domestic violence. There's better reason for me to be born in a human form. And that kind of drove me. And so the outcome was that I walked out of it. And since I was in corporate, I had the option of going back to the corporate, but I was like, I'm very blessed to be alive, and I'm very, very blessed to have very supportive parents, my family.
Hmm.
And obviously, since I'd worked, I was financially also decently okay. So I thought, let me help this way. Let me share my story with the hope that even if, Sandeep, even if one person is saved or one person gets hope listening to my story somewhere in the world, I would feel that my life has worth. That,
Absolutely.
the reason I survived was because I could maybe in some way play a small part in making
Hmm.
someone else's life safer. So I started sharing my story. Uh, and the next thing that happened was that, when you want to do something from a very genuine heart,
You're right.
the universe helps you. So I got a message, like I was invited by the United Nations Bangkok to give a keynote.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, when I got a mail, um, I thought it's a scam. So I waited 24 hours to revert to them.
Right.
But then it was not a scam. And yeah, so that's what happened. And when I shared my story, the same story for which a lot of people were pretty mean to me, and they passed a lot of hurtful comments to my family because victim bashing is the easiest.
Yeah, exactly.
The same story got me a standing ovation in the United Nations. And so yeah, that's my story. And if I may share, when you're down and out, there will be people who'll pull you down. Like,
Hmm.
I still remember one of the things that kind of hurt me was, um, my ex-father-in-law. He, when we said no, we were adamant about the divorce. He had said, okay, so now, mm, uh, he had said it in Hindi कि कर्नल
Mhm.
साहब अब तो रुचि को सिर्फ बस के धक्के खाने हैं. Like, she'll have to just
Hmm.
somehow, travel by bus. And like, it was a very derogatory way of saying that nothing
Ha-
good can happen.
yeah, has to go through the
And
hardships now.
yes, and when I went to the UN, from the hotel to the UN office, when we went, we had police clearing the road for us. The traffic literally stopped because we had police escort. So that was like, you
Mhm.
know, God is there and
Yeah,
God will take care of us if we do something from a good heart
absolutely.
and courage.
Yeah. And I truly believe, as you rightly said, I think the message here is if something goes wrong with you at some point in time in life, that's not going to be the end of the road. There will be help offered by the people who genuinely feel that, this is something wrong that has gone with me or with somebody else for that matter.
Yes, but one thing which I want to make very clear to everyone is the person has to take responsibility first. The rest of the world,
Absolutely.
everything will fall into place. But if you take that first step, because if you do not take that first step and you keep, being sad or bitter or whatever, I'm not
Mhm.
taking anything away from the pain because I went through it personally. But then after a while, you have to take responsibility that, okay, this happened, but now what? Where do I go from here? And
Yeah,
that decision would help you. And the moment you help yourself, then the rest of the world would help you.
so true. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about your corporate life. You did mention about corporate life as well. How did your decade in corporate leadership influence your decision to transition into holistic leadership and personal development?
Well, that did not have much to do with it. I'll be very honest
Okay,
about it. When I was in the corporate, I was a different Ruchi Singh altogether. I was a go-getter.
right.
Like, I had these things that by the time I'm 28, I have to have a home of my own. I have to have a big black car. So I had those
Hmm.
goals, very, very
Right.
materialistic. And I achieved those. So my first car was Chevy.
Mm.
so,
Huh.
and I bought it from my own money.
Yeah.
So things like that. So I was not wasting it on other stuff, I was saving it. So things like that. I was very, very ambitious. Like, I was the only manager who was in the transition team. I headed, we were working on a very fascinating project where BOT, built,
Mhm.
operate, transfer. So we were planning to transition few processes back to India from the Aviva
Mhm.
offshore and all that. So I was the only manager who was leading something. Rest were all VPs and all. But then I worked very hard for it. I had that ambition, that drive, and I used to work very hard. I used to party very hard. So that was who I was.
Right.
And so that did not drive me into this. It was more like, okay, this may sound dramatic and all that, but then when I used to drive back also from work, I used to be on calls. You would know, Sandeep, how it is. You've left the
Yeah.
office, but you're still on call. Something or other is always on fire. It seems as if you are not there, the world will burn down,
Stop.
but
Right.
nothing really happens. And we start also believing how important is what we are doing, and we start putting important, truly important things on a back burner. But then, slowly, slowly, when I used to drive back home, I used to feel I'm missing out on, people laughing on the street and things like that. Then I missed my parents' marriage anniversary and things like that. And I started not liking it,
Mm.
because if I cannot be there for anything important, then what's the point of working so much? So that thought process led me on. And then finally, this book. Now, this is the first time I'm sharing this on a podcast.
Hmm.
So there's this very famous book, Autobiography of a Yogi, and a lot
Yep.
of famous people have said it has changed their life. So Ruchi Singh, one not famous person's life was also changed by, Autobiography of a Yogi. So we had this very old, very thick Hindi version of this
Yeah.
book,
It's a very big book.
and
Yeah.
very big book. And
Yeah.
I'm a voracious reader,
I see.
voracious reader.
I see.
And somehow I never read that book. And I used to read a lot of spiritual books also, right? So it wasn't that I was not into those kind of books, but I never read it. And one fine day I was like, no, I have to read it. It was like a strong calling, and I started reading it like it was our own copy, very, very old, very fragile.
It's an orange color
And
book.
I
I
went,
still remember. The cover
yes,
used to be
so
orange.
yes, it is still
Yeah.
orange.
Yeah. Okay. It's still orange. Okay.
Yes. So, and then I went into meditation, like on my
Mm.
own.
Okay.
And there was some, like, I'm very, very shy about sharing this, because this is very, very, it is more personal to me than sharing my, survival story somehow.
Oh.
Because it is very precious. But I went through a very powerful spiritual experience. I'll not share the details.
Yeah.
It's just too precious. But yeah, that changed my life. And suddenly I was like, no, there's more to it. And that put me on this path. So I've been doing meditation, my sadhana, and all that for more than 15 years now. And
Wow.
the Yes, and I'm asked a lot. I've been interviewed a lot. And there is one question which I'm always asked, that how did you, cope up during those difficult years,
Mm.
or how did you quickly bounce back and recreate your life?
That was my next
And
question, by the way. But anyways, you carry on. You
do you want to do
yeah,
you
no, no,
want to
you go
ask me
ahead. No,
a
no, you
question?
please start. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, start answering that. No, no, no worries. Yeah.
So, my answer is this. I've always said spirituality. That kept me grounded. Although the real word is sadhana, but I don't use
Mm.
the word sadhana because sadhana may not be understood universally. So, we'll
Sure.
stick to the word spirituality. So, I was doing my meditation, I was doing my kriya, and I was listening to a lot of scriptures during that time, Narad Bhakti Sutra, Shiv Sutra, and all that, because I was very clear about one thing, that no matter what is happening, I will not let it break my mind. Like, I was like, I'll
Mm.
be damned if I let my someone mess with my mind.
Mm.
uh, Right. So even though it was not easy to walk away from a marriage, it's not easy. At least it was not easy for me to walk away. You think and there's always hope and also fear what will happen. So I'm very human that way. But I was also very clear that I'll be damned if I let anyone, mess with my mind, even if I can't do physically much. And so I started doing this, and that kept me, I think, strong. And in the end, that also protected me, because when you deal with, when you interact with higher powers, they interact. And like, the situation was so bad once, like, towards the end, Sandeep, that I used to be scared sleeping, because I had this fear, very reasonable
Mm.
fear, that if I sleep, he might just kill me when I'm
Yeah.
sleeping. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to sleep. So I used to hold my Guruji's picture in my hand, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji. And I
Hmm.
used to say, Guruji, I can't keep awake now. Please, can you say, keep me safe till morning? And so I don't, talk too much about my survival story, because again, that is personal. But I'm sharing this because the spiritual thing gave me strength. And when you're spiritually inclined and when you're doing sadhana, now sadhana is more than spirituality actually. So it also keeps you very sharp, and it gives you courage and strength to do things, and to face the world head on, which you need to do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is so precious and so private to you. And thanks for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it.
You are the first person I've shared my, that story.
Thank you.
Maybe it's time.
Yeah, no, it's time for our listeners to really learn from these things. So it'll be very valuable that way. Thank you. Okay, now
Yes.
I know the fact that you've been talking about holistic leadership as well. So I want to kind of switch gears and talk about you combine neuroscience, strategic insight, and energy empowerment in your approach. How do these
Yes.
elements interact to drive peak personal and professional performance?
All right. So, a lot of times we focus on strategy and it's all good. And then first I'll talk about strategy. Now, if you look at it, Sandeep, what happens is a lot of time you'll see in the same situation, a person would go ahead and they'll become a legend, right?
Hmm.
We all know
Yep.
of such inspiring stories. People, like, who lose their legs and climb the Everest, things like
Sure.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Hats off to such people. And there are ones who will just lose some money in the stock market or have a breakup, and they'll commit, they'll go and harm themselves, or, maybe take their own lives.
Yeah.
So there has to be something which is bigger, which is bigger than strategy, because
Hmm.
strategy is very critical for professional success, right? And I strategize my professional life. But to reach that level of clarity where you can actually take a step back when things go wrong, and I have given some extreme examples of my own life, or this example I gave, but you and I have been professionals, so we know day to day something or other will keep happening professionally. So even to strategize well, and in that situation to maneuver and plan, and maybe to pivot if required, or
Hmm.
to stand your ground to fight, you need to strategize. But before that, you have to have clarity कि करना क्या है,
Yeah.
right? And that is where energy comes into place. And when I'm talking about energy, I'm not talking about having Red Bull, which
Hmm.
is actually pretty harmful. I'm talking about the power which we all have within us. Now, thankfully, we have reached a stage, you know, where worldwide a lot of research and a lot of things have been done, and what we have been saying for thousands of years is now getting, understood and validated by Harvard and all. Like, hey, when you do meditation, you actually, become, you calm down, you become sharper, things like that, right?
Yeah.
This is just one example. So I work on that because you're a coach, right? So you would know that end of the day, after whatever you do, the final thing lies with the person you're coaching. And if they do not do anything about it, nothing's gonna move.
Correct.
Right. So that is where I work on energy, because when energy shifts, a lot of other things shift automatically. And when I say energy, can I be a bit technical?
Yeah. Sure. Please go ahead.
Okay, so we have like we see the physical body, but actually we have five bodies, right?
Mhm,
So pranamaya kosha, annamaya kosha, vigyanmaya kosha, and so on and so forth, right?
mhm,
So there, when we work on the pranamaya kosha, the vital energy associated, which is pranayama, which is doing meditation and certain other techniques, then a person gets sharper, they calm down if they are hyper or they're getting burned out. So we deal with the root problems, and once that is sorted, we can then come back and then strategize and then plan and then do things like that. And when I say science, it's like a some elements of neuroscience thrown in, so that's why. But I work mostly with energy that way.
uh-huh,
And um, and that is what has helped. Like when I coach people, they actually come back. I'll give you one example, okay? And this is a very 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 basic example. So I was coaching a lady,
mhm,
wonderful lady, very senior with a bank, and very senior in IT.
mhm,
But she had this immense inferiority thing going on because her English was not good, and she was I was recommended to her by someone else who
mhm,
has done some work with me, and she came totally hopeless that I cannot learn English and I feel shy and all that. And here's a very high achieving individual.
mhm.
So rather than telling her techniques how to learn English, which I don't do any which ways, right?
All right.
I worked on her confidence level and we shifted the energy there. And the first thing I did was just telling her that not knowing English is no big deal. Nothing happens if you don't know English. The majority of the people who do are fantastically well, like in China side of it or in
Yeah.
Europe, a lot of them do not know English at all, or they
Mm.
speak very broken English. And so that mindset shift when it happened, and like she was like, you have helped me in just one session what 4 5 coaches over the years had
Mhm.
not been able to help.
Right.
So those are the things which we work on. If that helps. I
No,
wish,
that.
Sandeep, I had a very set, standardized example or a very fancy sounding thing which I could say. But when I work one to one, and a lot of it is, also intuitive at the end. But my techniques are nothing to do with intuition. They're highly ingrained in our tradition, which has been like mostly 5,000 years of
Yeah.
tradition behind.
No, I fully agree with you. Infusing positive energy and aligning inner growth with outer success is what really matters at the end of the day. And that's what you're helping people to get to, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, in your experience, how does energy empowerment contribute to achieving personal and organizational excellence? You must have conducted, a lot of workshops with the corporate folks. How does it really work?
No. Honestly, I've not done any workshop on it.
Okay.
I'll be, yes. So,
But
okay.
even at the
So,
individual level, I'm sure, I mean, there
yes,
is
yes,
energy
yes.
empowerment.
Individually, I do
Yeah.
because I work with a lot of very senior people, both in the
Hmm.
government and, one to one people like you, people who are at your level, maybe. So,
Yeah.
that way. So, uh, your question was that how does it help to reach peak performance? Was that so?
Yeah. It's
So, I'm sorry.
basically about energy empowerment. How does that contribute to achieve your personal or your larger goals in life or at the organizational level? What we call
All
organizational
right.
excellence.
Yes, yes, yes. So, okay, so you would know that one of the biggest problems right now, and I do talk to a lot of speakers more than trainers, and they keep telling me, especially in Europe and all, burnout is a huge issue currently
Yes,
with the world,
absolutely.
right? And now with the war and everything happening, the world is a very disruptive place right now, right? So the stress levels are, anyways, through the roof. And a little bit of stress may be very helpful to give us that impetus to do well,
Yeah.
but constant stress actually starts destroying us. when I'm using a very big word, but that's what it does. After a while, our performance levels, everything drops down. And when burnout happens or depression happens, what happens is suddenly you can't function normally the way you were functioning. And burnout usually happens to people who are very, very high performance. I'm sure you'll agree with me on that.
Hmm.
Right? So, when we take care of these issues, when we ensure that the person, because if you hit burnout is a medical issue, then maybe it is very difficult to help people, because if something like, constant fatigue and all are then medical issues, they need medical intervention. But before that, if someone, like in my own case, right, when I was going through a challenging, very, very challenging situation, like, people actually, a lot of people go into depression or post traumatic stress disorder, or they have nightmares throughout the life and all that. So what helped me was this, my constant pranayama. In fact, I increased my pranayama, I increased my meditation, and I was doing some other practices as well, because I had to take care of my mind. But when I say mind, it was all on the energy level, right? Because nobody has seen their mind. Similarly, if it is a situation when you're working on a very high, say, you are transitioning something, you're putting in 18 hours at stretch, which I have done when we were doing
Hmm.
transitioning and all. After a while, it does take a toll on your mental and physical well-being. That time, if you have a certain practice which is already there, which you have been doing, then you know that there is something you can do to, keep revitalizing yourself. But in the longer run, I'll also put in a disclaimer: if you're in a constantly un like, like untenable, stressful situation, then after a while these things also will not work so much. So if you're constantly working 18 hours without a break, 2-3 years, you will have a breakdown. Or people who live in war zones, they do have post traumatic stress disorders. But these practices will keep you performing at your optimal till a certain time, because you every day, the way we have to sleep, we have to have food, this is the way we have to feed ourselves energetically also on our energy body.
Yeah, you got to follow your normal rhythm of life, right? I mean, you can't disturb that. Absolutely.
Like, see, honestly, Sandeep, it does get disturbed. Work life balance itself is a very let's face it, I don't know if there is any work life balance in any corporate world, because the work is supposed to be part of life, not work life balance. When we say that statement itself says that somewhere work is almost like, taking over your life. That is why I say work life balance, whereas work is just one part of it, and but it is not in reality, is it? No matter what we say on LinkedIn or anywhere else.
Hmm.
So then how do we take care of ourselves? Because we have to take care of ourselves. And the reality is, when layoffs happen, which happened in 2020, which has just happened, Google laid off 10% of their senior management or something. I'm not very exactly sure about the exact news. Then what do you do? Because no matter how good you were, suddenly you're out of job, and it does take a toll on you, not only physically but on a very deep emotional level. That is the time you need these techniques, practices to
Yeah.
keep you going and give you strength that something else will come, we'll see it through.
Yeah. Okay. So
And
let's
that is
talk.
why I said achieve sustainable success, because
Yeah.
success is not just money or reaching that, designation.
Couldn't agree more on that one. Yes. Let's talk about resilience a little bit. Having faced significant life challenges yourself, what advice would you give to leaders navigating through personal or professional crisis?
Okay, so I may sound like a broken record,
Huh?
and sometimes I think the savvier thing would be to just create something fancy like 8 steps to resilience or something like that. But it is actually very basic, very basic. You have to have a practice which is holistic. Physically, you have to take care of yourself. The at least, like 20 minutes of exercise at least.
Hmm.
Have decent food. I'm not saying go totally, like a crazy kind of diet, but have try and have healthy food. Then also you have to understand that these things work mostly on a physical level. Then you also take care of your mental well-being, which is directly impacted by energy. Okay, so I'll give you one example. I'm I'm not deviating from the point here. If you are angry or if you're very sad, and if I say, Sandeep, hey, it's okay, can you change your emotion? Don't worry, it's okay. Chances are you'll be, extremely annoyed at me, or you will feel worse or angry, right?
Mhm.
Because changing your emotion is one of the toughest
The
things
first
a
thing.
person can do. But if I teach you that, when you are angry next time, and this will again take some time, can you notice the breath? And the pattern of breath would be 100%. I can guarantee you on that. It would be short and fast. If you're angry, that's the breath pattern,
Yeah.
nothing else. And if I tell you at that moment, keep getting angry, be very angry, that's okay. But can you try and slowly, slowly start taking long breaths? Now, that can happen. And when you do that, because breath is something which you can control, you will realize after a while that you're not that angry. You're slightly under control, right? And when you do it through years, see, these are the practices which will not have immediate benefit, because chances are if you do it now and you're angry, you'll forget about it. But if you keep doing it daily, 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 one day it will become a default, right? But when you do that, that is going to help you, and slowly slowly it will become a default. You will still feel sad or angry, or that knee jerk reaction we have, like, okay, let me show this person. You will be better able to handle that. A lot of time those impulses will, or some of them would just leave you, and some of them would be there, but the time you took earlier to get back to normal will get, lesser and lesser,
Shorten and
and
shorten.
you
Yeah.
would be able to hit your equilibrium sooner. So that is one example, and there are various such techniques that are there to help people. And so when we talk about resilience, these are the things. It's a sum total of all these things, and you
Mhm.
have to do it before it happens. Like for in my case, since I was already doing I knew I had practiced for, like, at that time only 2 3 years, my pranayama and meditation and all that. I had a base. I knew what I could do, and that helped me. But if I didn't, then I don't know how would I have coped. So similarly, I think every leader, every organization has to have some of such practices in place. And the funniest thing is, when people are told that, can you take 40 minutes of your day and do this, they'll be, no, 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 I don't have time. And
Mm.
then they go ahead and have a heart attack or have a burnout, or the relationships get messier, and you start taking wrong decisions and start compounding. Then suddenly they have all the time in the world, but then the damage is
It's
done.
late.
So work gets tougher and tougher. So why not be savvy about it and think of it as an investment?
Yeah.
Like, I'm an angel investor. So it's an investment into yourself. A company can sink, and that's okay. You can lose money, which will hurt me a lot if I lose my money. But if you sink yourself, then what do? Then rest of the things are not going to matter any which ways.
Yeah.
So I think resilience, I try not to say anything very fancy,
Mm.
using big words, fancy words, and I'm MBA and corporate, so I can do a lot of paradigm shift and thinking out of the box, that kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean anything in the end. So these are the very simplistic sounding things which have a deep impact on us, and the results then show. Every like, Gukesh, he just won the chess championship, and so proud of him as an Indian. And like, all these people have some practice, like listening to maybe Bhagavad Gita, doing breathing exercises, pranayam. They have coaches who, what are those coaches doing? These are the exact things they are doing for them,
Yeah.
right? Handling the emotion and all, because chess is being taken care by some other coach. So that is how they have to do it. I try not to use any fancy words when
No, no,
I'm
very
talking.
helpful. Very helpful. Okay, before we wrap up, Ruchi, if you could distill your leadership philosophy into one core message for our listeners, that'll be very helpful. What would it be?
Hmm. Get in the business of courage.
Hmm.
When I say business of courage, because what happens is when you do not have courage to take that first step, to leave that job, to maybe walk out of that bad relationship, even to ask out, a guy or a girl who catches your fancy, or to make that investment, or since you're a finance guy, to get out of the market when you have to get out of the market. Everything takes courage. And if you lack that courage, then rest will not matter because you would not have taken that first step, or you would not have taken that step at that point where that is the difference between successful people and not successful people. Successful people have courage. They take risks, they
Mhm.
take their chances. But the difference between a successful person and a person who's like committing professional suicide is that when they take that risk, it's a very well thought of risk most of the time. So
Yeah,
get in the business of courage.
well said. Well, as we wrap up this enlightening conversation with Ruchi Singh, one thing is abundantly clear. Success in today's world isn't just about strategic thinking or professional achievements. It's about aligning the mind, body, and spirit to thrive holistically. Thank you, Ruchi, for sharing your wisdom and experiences.
Thank you, thank you.
Ruchi's journey insights and practices remind us that resilience, mindfulness, and energy empowerment are not just tools, but essential ingredients for lasting excellence. Whether it's navigating the complexities of leadership, overcoming personal challenges, or simply finding clarity amidst distractions, her message is a powerful call to action. Prioritize your inner growth to unlock your true potential. And to our listeners, we hope you leave today inspired to take that first step toward a more balanced, empowered, and successful life. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep striving for the best version of yourself. In today's recommendation section, we have a powerful documentary called The Social Dilemma, available on Netflix. It dives into how social media manipulates our behavior, affects mental health, and fuels digital addiction, reminding us why mindful tech use is more critical than ever. A must watch.